Hey, I'm Rob Sakalas. Thanks for joining me for my continuing series about how to escape becoming average after graduation. Today is episode 6, where we're going to talk about designing your own operating system. It's crucially important that you make the choices that turn into the basic patterns that you follow for the rest of your life. And when you choose correctly, it actually gets easier. It actually becomes much more possible for you to attain the top 10%. The truth is 99.9% of what we earn is going to be because of our brain and not our brawn. That's just the way life is. Even sports stars, you can absolutely tell the ones that have great IQ for their sport and those that are just striving hard. It's not a matter of how hard you play. It's how smart you play, no matter what the game is, right? There's really two kinds of people in the world: those that believe that they can change the way that they think, and those that believe that they can't. This entire series is for the former. You have to believe that you can change the way you react, the way you think, the habits that you have, if you're going to succeed in life. Last episode 5, was all about the fact that we've got the freedom to choose, and because we do, we have the ability to change our entire destiny. Changing your destiny is actually a lot of fun. The world has no limits if you believe that you can achieve. Ultimately, your habits are the ones that are going to break you. Willpower only gets you so far. Anybody that's tried to lose weight or try to get into shape realizes that if you don't get into the right habits, you're going to wind up falling short because you can't have that amazing willpower to get over the top every single day of your life. So ultimately, the game here is how do you create the right habits while reducing the effect of bad habits? And we all have our share of both good habits and bad habits. We are not a blank sheet of paper. All the influences we've had in our life, starting with our parents, then our siblings, then our classmates, and ultimately our colleagues and friends, they have all created us, the way we think, the way we react, and it's up to us to change that for the better. There's lots of examples of habits that don't work well. For example, if you're playing soccer and you place your foot 4 inches behind the ball, you're going to wind up kicking the soccer ball way too high most of the time. You have to change that habit, and it's not easy because in the heat of the game, right, it's hard. I got an example from my own life that's incredible. When I first got out of sales training, I was a fresh, young corporate guy. I walk into this important meeting, and there's an executive over there that sees me coming. He knows what company I'm from, and the first thing he yells across the room, there's probably, 16, 18 people in the room. He's like, "Your system sucks." Luckily, during sales training, they had taught me a new habit that whenever anybody flusters you with a question that you're not expecting, ask clarifying questions. Get more detail before you respond. Don't take it personal. Just ask those questions. It saved me in this case, right? I immediately asked, "Why do you say that? I'm here to help." And after a 15-minute conversation, things went better. But the whole point is that's just one little habit that can help you. And this entire series is going to, outline 30 to 35 habits that, if you've got them ingrained, will help you succeed. Ultimately, you also have to rewire the bad habits, and that's kind of hard because we get used to these bad habits, and we actually like them. That's why we have them. So, the trick here is establish more good habits while rewiring the bad ones, right? Because habits have an incredibly powerful grip on all of us. Ultimately, we have to absolutely make some choices. Starting with episode 8, you're going to see habit after habit. If you adopt only half of these, your chances of becoming top 10% are really, really good. To get there, you got to understand that habits follow a very specific pattern. That pattern always starts with a trigger. Something triggers you to move into that habit, right? So if you want to establish a new habit, you need to connect it to an existing trigger that you already have. Once you do that, you can then automate your response. You can say, okay, whenever this happens, whenever I drink a cup of coffee, I'm going to do this next. And so you've decided what your next step's going to be. And then you want to make sure that sticks by putting a personal reward at the end of whatever habit you're trying to build. So it's not hard to establish a new habit, but you just have to be very logical about it. So let me give you an example. a few years ago, I decided that I wanted to include stretching as part of my morning routine. And so what I decided is when I'm going to put my cup of coffee, grind the grinds, put them in the filter, press go. Right at that moment in time, I decided I'm going to stretch until the cup of coffee brews. A good length of time, 7-10 minutes. And then I would reward myself at the end of that process by pouring myself the hot cup of coffee. So basically, I was just sticking my stretch habit in the middle of an existing trigger, making coffee, and an existing reward, drinking the coffee. It worked like a champ. Within a few weeks, I automatically started stretching the minute I put the cup of coffee on, right? This exact same thing can be extrapolated to a bigger example. So let's say you have two people that want to work out. It's New Year's resolution. John and Molly both say, hey, I want to start working out for the entire year. But John decides, I'm going to work out 3 times a week. Well, it sounds good on paper, but what 3 times a week means that John probably has an alert that goes off on his phone and says, hey, it's time to work out. But because he said 3 times a week, he has to decide, is today the day? And what am I going to do? And so every single time that alert goes off in his iPhone, he's absolutely got to make some pretty big decisions. As a result, John's chances of sticking to his resolution are much lower than Molly's. Molly, on the other hand, decides, look, every single day that I'm in my hometown, I am going to work out. Bar none. Just going to work out. If it's an odd day, I'm going to lift weights. If it's an even day, I'm going to do aerobic. All the decision making has been taken out of Molly trying to build this good habit. Who do you think's got a better chance of success? It's going to be Molly for sure, right? Because you do not have the willpower to make these hardcore decisions every single day for an entire year. Same thing we need to do with all good habits. We need to make it unconscious. We want to make it part of your automated routine. So getting rid of bad habits, by the way, is a little harder. You have to substitute what you are already doing for something that is a more positive outcome. So for example, let's say a guy, every time he has a bad day, he's fallen into the habit of going by the pub and having a couple of beers. So he's, bad day is the trigger that leads him into drinking beers. For him to change that, he's going to have to change something pretty significant, right? He's going to have a stressed out day and then decide, well, every time I have one of these stress days, I'm going to go play basketball instead. And after basketball, I'm going to stop by, Baskin Robbins and have a 1-cone ice cream because I burned enough calories to get that done. So what he's done is he's taken his previous habit and changed what he's going to do and the reward at the end of that. I'm not saying he necessarily wants to eat the ice cream cone, but you get the basic idea. It is not as easy to get rid of the bad habit, but it's absolutely doable. So you have to create your own operating system inside your head. That is how you're going to succeed. You cannot rely on willpower for the rest of your life to become a top 10%er. This entire series, starting with episode 8, is going to help you get there. Don't forget to subscribe below. Next week's episode is crucially important. It's about defining what success is going to be to you. And then we're going to get into the habits that are going to help you get there. Thanks and have a great day.